In our today's class, I will be talking about breaker block plus inducement. How to use breaker block to take entries plus inducement. Understand? So I'm not going to be doing a lot of writing because anything I'm going to be writing, I will also be saying it. So I'll not be doing write up. So breaker block. A breaker block is simply a field order block. A breaker block is an order block that fails to hold. That failed to hold, but it will now hold, or we will now use it in the opposite direction. Now let's just say we have a bullish order block here. So this is a bullish order block here. So naturally, the market is supposed to come and tap this bullish order block, then buy to the upside. But in a scenario now whereby the market tapped and maybe bought a little bit, then later broke it. You asked me a question in our first class that if you are using order block, then the order price now get to the other block now fails, and I told you we use it as breaker block. So now this order block that refused to hold will now turn to a breaker block. But how are we going to use this breaker block to take entry? How is this breaker block valid for us to use to enter the market? Is inducement. So for this breaker block now, this order block that failed, that has turned to a breaker block, must have inducement. I told you our inducement is our first pullback. So the first pullback will not touch this breaker block here. So you will see something like this. So this guy here is our first pullback, which is our inducement. Once you see something like this, then you enter the market for a sell. Market to come and tap your breaker block, then start to sell to the downside. Remember, this breaker block teaching is very simple. It's very it's the simplest among all. Thing is that a breaker block is an order block that failed to hold. Understand? A breaker block is an order block that failed to hold. And for us to use a breaker block, it must have liquidity that is protecting it. Now, and to use your breaker block, you must work with the alignment of the time frame, like the direction of the market. If you want to sell, the direction of the market must be in a downtrend for your breaker block to work perfectly. If you want to buy, the market must be buying. The market must be bullish for your breaker block to work perfectly. That is why this order block failed to hold, because the trend of the market is downtrend and the power of the trend broke this order block. So this order block now turned to a breaker block here. So when price broke out from this order block, it created liquidity closer to this order block. The price came to tap this breaker block and start to sell off. So in a case or in a scenario whereby we have two breaker blocks, we have order block 1 here and we have order block 2 here. So if the market now break out, the market came to this guy, respected a little bit, broke this guy, came back down, respected a little bit, then finally broke out of the two other blocks. Then these two other blocks now have turned to breaker blocks. Understand? These two other blocks are simply turned to breaker blocks. So in this case now, the valid breaker block is when you see two breaker blocks in your chart. When you see two breaker blocks like this, the advisable one to use is this second one, because price will come and tap this first one. Price will first network. See this network issue I'd always complain of. So like I said, the price will come and first tap this first breaker block, then sell off. So now the tap on this first breaker block will now serve as inducement to this second breaker block. So this one now will now be your, this tap on this first breaker block will now be your inducement, will now be the inducement that is protecting this breaker block from holding. When you are using your other blocks, when you are using your breaker blocks, there must be an inducement, there must be liquidity as protecting it. So the market will come back and tap the second breaker block